Now, a lot of you have never seen a drawing of what is going on here, so let me give you a real quick synopsis. The reason so many aspects of this have drawn so many people is because Joyce had a vision from the beginning that this would not only be a place that would demonstrate how we can prevent runoff into the sewer system, which is one of the things that the MMSD, where is he? There he goes, Mr. Schaefer is interested in. We came together as a group because neighbors like Cammie across the street, Robert across the street, Joe and Angela across the street, all of whom either have a family representative here or are here themselves, we're seeing undesirable activity here. There was some prostitution. There was some use of the place as a lookout for drug activity that was going on down there. And they would look out from the corner and run across the lot. So as Joyce's vision began to grow and all the neighborhood people began to see that, all kinds of aspects developed. And one of them was there will be rain gardens around the edge. Where you are sitting will be lowered and will be flat and will be rain absorbing. Downspouts will be disconnected and running into this area. And what we're also trying to say is this can happen in individual homes and lots as well. We have done it in our home. We have gardens all around our house. And there was a time when I actually got an order from the city that told me to either reconnect my downspouts or be fined $1,800 a piece. Many, many years ago. And now, my father was a soil and water conservationist, one of the original ones for the Soil Conservation Service, and he said, unhook those downspouts. And we have hollowed out gardens around our house to do the same kind of thing that we're doing here. And all of us can do that. And that's the kind of demonstration that this is, that other neighborhoods can do this and that individuals can do it. And the person who really had the vision of that is one person that I have to brag on because she's my wife. I've sat next to her where our offices are in a little 8x10 room in our house, and we have desks next to each other. So I've watched Joyce cajole and be patient and drag and push and pull and talk to people and get ideas from people for 3 years. There's a couple of times she almost gave up, but she persisted. And I always said about her as a lawyer that the reason she lost one case in 17 years is she's a bulldog. And, nobody knows what they're dealing with when they get into a court of law with her, and a lot of people didn't know what they're dealing with on this. So Joyce Ann Seiser, Ms. Joyce Ann Seiser, former president of the Neighborhood Association, 3-year committee chairman and head of this project. I'm sorry, that's the longest introduction I'm going to do, but she deserves it. I would like to introduce my beloved wife, Joyce Ann Seiser.
Thank you all for being here. This is just a thrilling event and an honor to have all of you here, government representatives, representatives of agencies, and people from the neighborhood. Welcome and thank you for being here. I have a very simple message from me today to all of you, and that is a thanks to all of you who have continued to listen to me talking about the garden for the last 3 long years. That conversation began over 3 years ago at a home 2 houses down from here, where neighbors met with Alderman Bauman and representatives from Groundwork Milwaukee to talk about what to do about the deterioration in this lot. I won't go into the details, but it was nasty, and we wanted to improve it. So then the neighbors formed a garden committee, which involved Robert from across the street here and a number of other people in the neighborhood. And we began working with Groundwork Milwaukee on developing a landscaping plan. All of them, for all this time, listening to me ranting about the need for rainwater retention. Rainwater retention. Then that same year, almost 20 individual supporters, the groundbreakers, listened to our plea and generously gave over $100 each as initial funding for this garden project. The next year, Pam Ritker from Clean, Wisconsin.
Back here.
Where is she? She's back here. Poor Pam Ritker from Clean, Wisconsin innocently called me as the president of Cold Spring Park and wanted to talk to me about Clean, Wisconsin's desire to install rain gardens for the MMSD in their 30th Street Industrial Corridor project. And this lot is right at the southern end of that corridor. Little did she know. She came over to our home and I said, "Do I have a plan for you?" Hours later, she left our library with a stack of notes and drawings and designs and all of my ideas, all of our ideas for the garden. And she never stopped working with us since the time I met her on developing the funding for the garden. And it's just been a wonderful partnership. Thanks to Clean Wisconsin, especially Pam's tireless efforts, the MMSD is providing $4,000 towards the funding of this project. And they are doing it through their contract with Clean Wisconsin. So thank you to Clean Wisconsin for your participation. Then Merrick Landscaping contracted with Clean Wisconsin as their landscaping contractor for the installation of rain gardens, became involved and worked with us on a design for the garden. Now a new idea, now listening to my concerns about meeting SEPTED safety standards, which we have done. And you're going to hear about that later. ADA Chris Ladwig, and I know he's here, I saw him back there, and representatives from Safe and Sound reviewed the plan and reviewed it and approved the plan as meeting SEPTED safety and security standards.
Explain what SEPTED.
They are going to explain that. That's the district attorney is here and Captain Smith is here, and they will talk to you about SEPTED standards. Then this year, Keith Stanley casually suggests that we talk about how Avenues West and Cold Spring Park can work together. Poor guy. Had no idea what he was getting into. Let's meet for coffee at Daddy's, right?
That's right.
So Charlie and I meet with him for coffee at Daddy's, and he listened. He received a file full of drawings and summaries and descriptions, and he listened to me and Charlie for an extended period of time.
Extended.
Then, when the Near West Side Partners formed, and he became the executive director of them, he invited me to pitch the garden plan to their steering committee. Would I be interested in pitching the plan to the Near West Side Partners steering committee? I told Charlie I didn't want to tell him that I would have missed my mother's funeral to pitch this plan to the Near West Side Partners steering committee. But I thought telling him that would sound too desperate. So I simply said, "Oh, sure, that would be nice." Now, before I cut to the end of this tortured story, I have several special shout-outs to make. One of them is to Vanessa Llanes, and I sure hope she's still here.
Yes.
There she is. 3 years ago, I started talking to Vanessa about, and then she was with the Neighborhood Improvement Development Corporation. about a community improvement project matching grant. Hence the need for fundraising, because you need to have the money to match the grant. Bless her heart, she just never stopped believing in this project. She would call me every few months, asking if I was ready to file the application yet. And I wasn't, because I hadn't raised sufficient funds yet. And as time went by, and we got into this summer, it was becoming pretty clear if it didn't happen this year, it wasn't going to happen at all. Vanessa actually chaired the last meeting that we had with partners about how we could put together the pieces of the funding. That was before Near West Side Partners and the DPW became involved. But I cannot thank you enough, Vanessa, for your constant encouragement and support and belief in this project. Thank you. Another shout out goes to all of you who have been on the 3 years of members of the board of directors of Cold Spring Park, and then the members who attended the annual meetings and heard my report after report after report on the status of the garden and the status of the fundraising. And you listened often when I did not have very much to say, because there were times when there wasn't very much happening. Finally, of course, my expressions of gratitude would not be complete without thanking the person who has listened to me the most for the last 3 years. And that's not just because we share an office. You know, my supportive and unwavering husband and partner in the neighborhood, Charlie Fox. Who would just not let me lose faith. Every time I became discouraged and just couldn't believe anymore that it was going to happen, he kept telling me, it will. It will. Just hang in there. It will. When he kept me keeping the faith. And I can tell you that there were many, many times when we were writing that $1,800 in contributions we had gotten from the groundbreakers, and faith. And that's all we were writing on. He was with me when we walked into what we thought was a meeting with Keith Stanley. He said, I want to talk to you about how we might be able to get the garden done. So Charlie and I walk into this room at Avenues West, thinking we're meeting with Keith Stanley, and people start filing in. People I don't even recognize. Turned out one of them was the president of the Near West Side Partners, Ronna Altenberg. Hassan Korban, the commissioner of the Department of Public Works. And Scott Barron of the Forestry Department. And we listened to them. To our surprise, they had developed a partnership, which includes installing our garden as a model for other West Side neighborhoods. And so here we are.
Yay! You go, Joyce!
So a final big thank you goes to Scott Baran for then working with us as a neighborhood to make sure that the garden that is installed by the DPW and its contractor is the garden to which we are committed. So thank you so much for working with us. So soon, thanks to all of you, this weed-filled lot will become a beautiful and inviting garden and gathering green that is also environmentally sustainable.
Woo!
Those rain gardens.
That's right.
And more safe and secure.
All
Go
right.
accept it.
All right.
And you will be able to stop listening to Joyce talk about the garden. For now.